I can't wait to hear
Okay.
Mine always becomes Papa. Egg, 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 egg.
that.
All right, guys, I'm all primed and ready to go. I'm gonna go live right now. As soon as you hear me talking, we'll be live, and I'll introduce you all. Hello, everybody out there. This is Cody with Nostalgic Nebula. Thank you for joining us here on the 16th of December. We're doing a very special Cryptmas watch party of Tales from the Crypt presents Demon Knight. We have our guests here, John Kassir, the voice of the Crypt Keeper himself. We have director Ernest Dickerson. He was there just a second ago, but he'll be right back. And we
Get
also
his
have
ducks in.
special makeup effects artist Todd Masters. We may be joined by others. No promises, but we'll see and we'll welcome them gratefully. Oh, we may be having Stephen Lovejoy right here with us very soon. Hello. How are you doing, John? How are you doing, Todd? How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. I love seeing Todd. I miss him Halloween time. Todd used to have the most amazing Halloween parties anybody ever had. It was kind of like Dick Clark's rocking New Year's Eve, but it was done as Halloween. And of course, he would always invite all the special effects guys and those, so they would have like the best costumes you've ever seen at any party anywhere. It's
But
like,
you,
oh my
if
God,
you
that's
remember all
perfect.
that, you weren't there. I mean, it's the kind of the rule, right?
Yeah,
If you recall it, you weren't there. No,
yeah,
we used to do it in the back of our monster shop, and thousands of creeps would show up. It's really amazing.
it was unbelievable.
Okay, Ernest, you're back. Hello.
Yeah, yeah. I got knocked off for some strange reason. Don't know why.
And
Something weird. Demons doing
Stephen, hello.
I,
Hello.
Nice
Hello,
to see
it.
you.
everybody.
David,
Nice to see
Lovejoy.
you all. Been a long
That's my
time.
great enemy, Steve Lovejoy.
That's me.
it,
Bravo, you're looking great.
Thank you.
You haven't changed a lick.
Well, you're very kind, but
He
that's a little overstated, but thank you.
he fixed himself in post.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I stay out of
Egg,
them.
egg, 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 egg.
Hey,
Sorry
to
about that.
everyone out there, Merry Christmas. Are you ready for your dead time story?
this is going to be a blast, but guys, I really want to thank you all for joining me here. This has been something I've had in my mind either as a live event, but now the way the world's changed, we're doing these things live stream now, and it's still fun because now everybody across the globe gets to enjoy this along with you, and so I think everybody's going to have a lot of fun hearing your stories and your anecdotes and little behind the scenes tidbits. So everyone, if you're at home, hopefully you have your copy of Demon Knight ready to go. We'll count down three, two, one, press play. Then we'll all get the movie started, get the show on the road, and have some fun. Uh, my wonderful guest here, feel free to have as much fun as you want, just talking. Stream of consciousness. You know, you don't have to get set. Going scene to scene. If you get stuck on an anecdote, go with it, and have fun. This is like just sitting down on the couch with a bunch of friends. So everybody, if you're ready at
Cool.
home, and my guest as well, we'll get ready with the movie. We'll count down. Three, two, one, play. My wonderful guest here, feel free to have as much fun as you.
Weird, I can hear it. Not come up with it.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
sorry.
so Universal. Thank you very much, Universal. Now, Ernest, I don't remember how you got involved with this one. You can hear me. I think you're muted there, Ernest.
Your mic's off.
Can we get a sound guy in here?
Who are we not
Ernest?
paying?
Okay,
For
John,
some
can you do the
reason,
Ernest
I keep
impersonation?
losing signal.
Oh, do you? That's not good. Okay, so John will do the voice of Ernest throughout the commentary.
Ernest,
I wouldn't even try.
Come on.
There
I'm
you go.
gonna
Ernest, can you
chat him
hear
right
us?
now.
Ernest?
Ernest, come in, Ernest. Okay, well, I'm going to start commentating. This is a set that was actually built the very, very first season in North Hollywood on Radford Street, where we originally had the Crypt and this set, and then we go into this miniature that Boss Films made. It's a really cool miniature. They had to shove a miniature camera down through there with miniature crew just to get it, just for this miniature piece of film. It was shot on a miniature piece of Super 8 film, but strangely loaded into a Boss film camera that was 65 millimeter. I don't know how they did that. And then we cut right into here. This is the Crypt set. And this is the original position of the Crypt set on that Radford Street. I actually sculpted all that crap. That was my very first job for Tales of the Crypt, was sculpting that big head. All those walls have creepy shit in it. And then, of course, this is Kevin Yeager's amazing Crypt Keeper puppet that John, of course, voiced. John, is it true that it was kind of modeled after you, or no?
Totally. Those were my salad days.
That was back when you had your teeth on the outside of your lips.
Actually, it was just the other way around. I went down to Kevin Yeager's studio to audition for it. He had people audition right in his studio.
Wow.
So I got to see what the puppet looked like. So, rotting teeth and holes in his throat. And that's where I got the idea to do the texture that it did. I remember auditioning for Kevin, and he had been listening to so many people, and he was like this. And I started doing it, and he went. He was doing
I know
this
that
thing.
face of Kevin's.
Oh my God. And I just started cracking up, and I was like, oh, great. The Crypt Keeper laughs at his own jokes. And that kind of stuck. We had a good time.
I remember.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I talked on you there.
No.
I remember the scripts actually started taking on some of those characteristics. Alan Katz, who used to write a lot of that stuff, he would write in there that he started moving very puppety. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah.
Okay, back to the movie here. I can't remember this actress's name. That body there actually was Walt Phelan, one of our demons. Before we actually reveal who the true actor is, it's Walt Phelan wearing that bloody, disgusting costume there.
Now, come in here.
Is this the actress that was killing John Larroquette?
Yeah.
Okay, well, she got voiced, had to be dubbed over by, got to be dubbed over by Mary Kay Bergman, who's no longer with us, and her husband, Dino Andrade, and his son Connor contacted me. I've worked with Dino a number of times, and he was like, "Oh, please make sure to do a shout out for Mary Kay Bergman. She was one of our favorites in the voiceover business."
Awesome.
And she would always get a giggle out of this. It was one of the things she was proud of, having done this movie.
That's cool. So this is some more puppet stuff mixed in with some revolutionary digital compositing by John Van Vliet and Available Light, adding the Crypt Keeper's head to some of the wider shots. This here is a puppet on a track. And then, of course, this is a puppet as well. Ernest, you're back and you're Christmassy. I love it.
Yeah, I had to go to another computer.
You went to the North Pole, obviously. That was a joke.
Reason to be jolly.
All right, here we go, gang. You got here right in time, because Ernest didn't direct any of the opening stuff. He started directing right about here, which I got to say, Ernest, you brought a whole fresh taste to Tales from the Crypt with this movie, and we were all so excited to be working with you when you jumped onto this crazy ship.
I was happy to be part of it. It was great. It was a great working experience, and a lot of exciting things happened while we were shooting.
Over a very quick period of time, too.
Yeah.
So,
and that's where I met my dear friend Toby Hooper.
Oh, really? You met him on Tales from the Crypt?
Yeah. We were setting up the crucifixion sequence one day, and Rocco Joffrey, the matte painter, was setting up the glass shot, because that's how we did it. We did it as a glass shot.
In camera glass shot, no less.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and so I just stepped outside just to get to take a break, and I saw Toby Hooper sitting out there.
I don't remember him being there that day. That's crazy. That's cool.
Well, he was good friends with Gil.
Right. Toby's. I miss him so much. He was such a cool guy.
Oh, he was one of my hanging buddies. And when I saw him there, I was like wondering. I said, "Hey, you're Toby Hooper, right?" He said, "Yeah." And I'm wondering, what's Toby Hooper doing here? I think they like the dailies. I hope I'm not getting replaced.
You definitely were not.
You know, and so there was just a moment, but yeah, we talked a little bit, and then years later, we became really, really, really good friends.
Toby can be a little scary, you know, or he could have been back then. You know, he actually talked a really deep kind of Texas-y drawl, and kind of an imposing guy. And of course, his son Tony actually worked for us on Demon.
That's right.
He was one of our monster makers.
My wife talks to Tony often.
Oh, does he? Please tell him I say hello. I miss that guy.
Okay, I'll definitely do that. He'll be glad to hear from you.
Okay, cool. We also did the Mangler together down in South Africa, and Tony and I have quite a few memories. Really cool guy. Okay, back to the movie. We just blew up a car, which was probably the work of Tommy and Charlie, Bellissimo and Bellardinelli, who was our Tales from the Crypt effects dudes, and their crew, who were just amazing. They were on our series as well as kind of the pyro guys and floor effects, and brought their magic to this movie. And real amazing team and legends. And everything was safe and beautiful and really cool. Who's brought Home from Hell?
That was some of the first stuff we shot. I think we shot it out around Saugus.
Yeah.
And you know, we did actually the very first scenes we did were for the finale of the movie where Geraldine is getting back on the bus. That was some of the very first stuff we shot, and then while we were out there, we set up to do the big car crash.
Right. Yeah, which is quite spectacular. It's a great way to open this movie. I mean, you're immediately like pulled in, and you're not going to flick. You know, you're not going to switch channels. Did Kassir just totally leave us now? He was out of the movie for a few minutes.
Left us hanging. For anybody at home wondering where we are in the movie, every once in a while I'll pop up a quick little flash of what's happening.
Oh, cool.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay, I think I might be a little ahead of you.
Yeah,
so
that'll tend to happen. Some of us will be laughing before others. Some of us will have to catch.
Well, we'll just see how it goes. I'll try not to get too excited. So Bill Sadler, do you remember how he became part of this, Ernest?
I mean, you know, we knew he was available. I liked Bill's work. I thought he played a really great bad guy in
he's
movies like Die Hard 2 and stuff.
Right, and he's in the Tales from the Crypt family. I think he's done 2 episodes, in fact.
Right. Yeah, Bill was cool. Bill was so cool. I had a lot of fun working with him.
And then of course we have Sherry Rose playing the mom character there. She was in a couple Tales from the Crypt episodes as well.
And Tim Zarn.
Tim Zarn, yeah. I still hear from him every so often. And then of course, the world's greatest character actor, Dick Miller.
Yes.
What a pleasure to work with that guy. I mean, what a legend.
Yeah, he was such a nice man, and was so great to all his fans and everybody that he worked with. He is just really amazing.
Yeah, I mean, just quite a legacy that he brought to this film. So many of my crew didn't know who he was because, of course, he's from the Corman days, of course, and 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s.
Right.
I mean, just decades and decades of solid work. And,
it was, you know, Dick was, you know, somebody who I grew up with, you know, seeing in a lot of movies, you know, everybody says, who is that guy? You know, who was that guy? Because everybody saw him. And yeah, he was in so many of Roger's earliest films. And when I was trying to figure out who was going to play Uncle Willie and saw that he was available, I said, oh, let's get Dick, please. Totally. I got to work with Dick Miller. I can't let it go by. And,
well, thank you for doing that because he was so great for this part. And,
he was so much fun, you know.
Yeah, he really was.
And you know, so underused. You know, I think you know Joe Dante gave him a whole nother career comeback in the movies that he did there, and I was glad to give him a real substantial character to create, Uncle Willie.
And it's a real great character too. It's a solid
Yeah.
character.
Love
Here we
that.
have John Shuck and Gary Farmer playing our cops, and of course the great Billy Zane.
Mhm.
With I mean I love Billy. He's such a cool guy, but what a performance! And
Yeah.
every time people think about this movie, as much as I want them to comment about how cool the demons are, or our work particular, Billy is just on a whole level of his own, and it's just wow, what a performance!
Yeah. What was really interesting was when Billy first came in, we didn't know he was bald.
That's right. That's right.
And so he came in with a bunch of wigs,
In his trunk, by the way. They were in the trunk.
And he was like, well, which one do you want me to wear? Which one should I use?
Yeah.
And I'm like, and even after he said that, I'm still looking at him. Damn, Billy Zane is bald. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't really think that, because he's never played bald until this part.
And then I said,
looks great bald.
He really
that's
does.
what I told him. I said, don't put anything on. Let's just go bald.
Yeah. Yeah. He drove up to our studio in this like huge, like Impala-like vehicle. And I remember him popping open the trunk, the trunk. And in the trunk were all these loose wigs, just not in a container, not in a bag, and he just started putting them on. And I could recognize different movies from each head of hair, and it was so cute. Anyway, okay, so here's Jada and Cece Pounder, because remember the H is silent. And she actually introduced herself to me that way. I'm Cece Pounder. That was really cool. It's like, how is that? Anyway. And of course, Cece's actually not the size that she appears that she is in this film. She's
we had to pad her up.
Just a bit.
One of the reasons being that eventually she's going to lose her arm. And so, that just helped to...
You gave it away! You gave away my best part, damn it!
Smock eyes, everybody. But no, it was a really good way to kind of conceal that. We knew that we were eventually going to have to deal with that. And it's always tricky to get an actor to hide their arm. So Ernest, you and I just started conceiving a little bit on the character and hoped that she went along with it. And she has actually a really natural front on this. You never think that she's really smaller than that, which is really cool.
And then plus at one point she has to raise the arm.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Right. So we had to have enough room inside her costume for Deep Roy to get in there.
Yeah.
And
I remember our pre-production on this, man, was, we had a good pre-production. It's pretty extensive.
Wait a minute. No, we didn't.
Yes, we did.
Maybe you did. It's been 27 years, so maybe the memory's foggy.
Well, there were a lot of things we had to solve, and even coming up with some of the ideas that I had for what happens to the victims of the demons, when they become the victims of their own sins, the ones that were considered a little bit too shocking for some sensibilities.
Strange thinking about that now. As I recall, our prep was actually like over lunches, like while we were shooting. We did have a few weeks before we started shooting, but once we started filming, I remember every lunch was another prep meeting.
Yeah. Well, I had a great deal of prep with my production designer,
right, Christian
Wagner, because he was the production designer on my previous film, Surviving the Game, that I did right before this, and just coming up with the idea for the hotel, the idea that it was an old church that had been reconfigured into this motel in the middle of nowhere, and just figuring all that out, and and since the whole film takes place in one night, I just could not see us shooting out in the desert at night for like 30 days or 20 something days or something. So,
and your background gave you that obviously pretty early, which was really smart. You come from here we are. Okay. So I am a little ahead of you. Pausing. But you coming in and telling us to do it that way was pretty damn smart.
It really helped us do a lot of things. I just felt the crew would have gotten burnt out way too soon.
Right.
We reached the point of no return. So.
Well, so for people that don't know, we ended up shooting the desolate location of the hotel right in the middle of Van Nuys. At the Van Nuys airport, we took over a very large hangar right next to the DEA, by the way. And,
decommissioned hangar, yeah. And we built everything in there.
So even that exterior shot of the hotel that we saw a little while ago of Bill's character walking up, that's a bit of a mat extension, but that actually is the widest shot we have of that set. And it was like a hotel. It had an exterior and an interior all as one.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of good stair climbing shots, and you could follow into, I think every room was practical.
Yeah, it was. It was great because the exterior was made to be shot basically from one angle, a little bit of variation over to the left and to the right, but basically from one side. Just one side was completed.
Right.
And then the interior was all done. The kitchen, the big main room, little dining area upstairs, the bedrooms and everything. It was
right. And then the basement and the tunnels were separate as well.
Yeah.
And then of course all the location stuff.
My favorite stories about all the fact, because it was in a hangar, that you were sharing with them testing jet engines and and also with the bird. I walked in and I was like, how are they shooting with all these birds? It was just full of birds.
We tried several different things. First off, we tried shooting off a blank shot with a gun. I'd say roll sound and bang, action. Because for a little bit they'd be quiet.
Right.
But then they got wise to that, and then we had to bring in some sort of an electronic, ultrasonic bird, anti-bird things. That
double the budget.
Which is part of the soundtrack now, actually.
It's the fourth channel, yeah.
It's definitely in there. There was quite a bit of ADR.
We missed a couple great cast members joining. Of course, we have Charles Fleischer, who's joined us.
Please.
Well, yeah, he's of course the voice of Roger Rabbit. And Brenda Bakke has joined us. And Thomas Hayden Church. Yeah.
Thomas Hayden Church.
I mean, this cast is just unbelievable. How many fantastic actors of all sorts of great characterizations. I mean, every character is so believable.
And over half of them, I think, have been in some form of comic book film.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I
CCH.
guess you're right. Yeah.
She's in DC. William Sadler was the president of Marvel, I think, for a couple of years.
As he should be.
Yeah.
I have a certificate somewhere from Bill Sadler's Boy Scout group. He brought a troop through the studio once. We molded, the Boy Scouts arms and stuff. I guess his kids were in the Boy Scouts. So he's a real solid dude.
Yeah. I had a chance to work with Bill Sadler one more time.
Oh, really?
Several years later, yeah. Yeah, down in North Carolina.
Cool.
And,
what was that?
I just saw Billy Zane in a really good movie on Netflix called True Story with he's in there with Kevin Hart.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I would love to see Billy more. I don't see him enough.
We don't see him enough. I think he's a great actor. He always delivers, and I don't think he's given the credit that he truly deserves.
Okay, so we're coming up on how
Because he's bald.
Maybe he sold that car with a big trunk. And he no longer can supply as many wig choices. I don't know.
He also shows up for his fans. He goes to some of the conventions and that kind of thing, and he's a good guy to the fans. He's beloved by the fans as well.
Yeah.
Billy,
well, he was great to work with.
He really was.
Game. He really was. He was really game in designing this character and working it out, and a really good doing really good improvisations.
Yeah, because there is a lot of improv from him in this, right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
I don't know how you could write that hip hop motherfucker, that whole thing. I don't know how you could write that. I mean, I don't know where that came from. His kind of weird Texas character took over.
Texas talking in tongues.
Yeah, exactly. Demon Texan. So here we're coming up to a gag that I stole from Dead Alive, actually, the Peter Jackson movie. A bunch of us went down to the New Art Theater like one midnight and saw this crazy movie from this dude called Peter Jackson that we had heard about him because he had Bad Taste, but we didn't, he wasn't the Peter Jackson that we noted today. And they had a couple really great gags. I guess we have a few beats here. And one of them we loved, which was one of the characters threw a fist through someone's head. And so we kind of lifted that, and that's coming up pretty soon. And it's actually got a bit of a Terminator trick in it too. There was a gag that they did on Terminator that I thought was really smart, where Schwarzenegger's character punches out the windshield of the Michael Biehn car, and there's one shot where they throw the punch, and it's a pneumatic ram that they just put a fist on. And I thought, well, that's a great way to punch through a head. So that's kind of what we do here. Sorry, I think I jumped the gun. We got to talk about this sequence first, of course. My nipples are smoking. Hopefully I'm synced up with you guys, but we've got Thomas Hayden Church's performance here, which is to die for.
I think we're all just assuming that everybody on this has seen the film.
Yeah,
So, by the way, I want to show you one of my favorite new acquisitions.
Lower it. There you go. Oh my God, look at that.
That's fantastic.
Wow.
What's inside of it is what counts.
And until it's completely black until you fill it with something hot.
That's creepy.
That's what she said.
My wife.
Come on, family show.
No, it's not. This is fucking Demon Night. What are you talking about?
Wait a minute. I didn't sign on for this kind of vulgarity.
You've been in Canada too long, man.
I know, right? Seriously. Well, if you guys are going to do that, then okay, we're going to punch through a head coming up here. Are we allowed to have small cigars?
Be my guest. We're just sitting on the couch. We're all having fun. For my guest, if you would like, I sent a link in our chat section on Zoom, and it leads to the live stream, so you could see where all your glorious fans are chatting away, and they're just having a great time.
Are they chatting away? I don't see it.
How do I open that?
Let's see. I think on the bottom part of your Zoom window, it'll say chat, and click on that, and it'll pull up our chat, and it'll have the link that I sent over.
I got it. Okay. All right.
I see our chat, but it doesn't see. Let's see.
A link in our chat section on Zoom, and it leads to the live stream, so you could see where all your glorious fans are chatting away, and they're just having a great time.
Hello, glorious fans. Are they chatting away? I don't see it.
How do I open that?
Let's see. I think on the bottom part of your Zoom window, it'll say chat, and click on that, and it'll pull up our chat, and it'll have the link that I sent.
Yeah, I got it. There.
I see our chat. It doesn't see that.
In our chat section on Zoom, and it leads to the live stream, so you could see where all your glorious fans are chatting away. They're just having a great time.
Hello, glorious fans.
Do I have to turn off the sound on one of them?
Oh yeah. You might want to turn down the sound on the live stream. Sorry, I was wondering what was going on. Pull up our chat.
All right, here we go. Yeah. How about you guys? But I'm freaking out. What the?
Yeah. So if you pulled up the YouTube page, go ahead and put that on mute. Put that on mute. The live chat, because we're gonna hear row your boat.
Do I have to turn off the sound on one of them?
Oh yeah. You might want to turn. Oh yeah. You might want to turn down the sound on the live stream. Sorry, I was wondering what was going on.
That's the funniest damn thing ever, right there. Forget watching the movie.
Yeah.
That was hilarious. Anyway, okay, so here's the crazy head sequence. Are we back in Zoomland? I don't
I
even
think
know.
we came back to our universe.
Yeah.
That
I
was
think
awesome.
I had to turn off the sound on the YouTube connection, and then you were only hearing us.
I say put it back on. That was great.
Yeah. Blah, 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 blah.
Like demon tongues here. Speaking of demon tongues, here we got Billy turning, into demon guy.
Yeah.
Okay, where are you there, Cody? I can't quite see it.
Yeah,
Okay, got it.
Billy. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, there we go. The demon birthing, which Ernest, we stole from Jason the Argonauts. You remember that?
The skeletons.
Yeah, the birthing of the skeletons. I remember one of our lunch meetings, you and I connected on Harryhausen, and it all of a sudden we're like, oh, we could probably put it in the movie. So that's kind of how that happened, because the demon birth kind of got conceived very late in the process, because we were shooting when we were starting to figure this whole thing out. All these birthing.
Yeah.
It's a mix of like gelatin melting in reverse, and we had some other puppets that just kind of worked on little gear mechanisms and all sorts of weird crap.
Yeah, a lot of shooting in reverse. We did a lot of that.
Here's I think I've got the concept of the demon birth.
Oh, do you?
Let's see if that pops up.
Got a shout out about my pumpkins on the old chat thing going on. Thanks very much, Paul.
I pulled mine out for this Halloween.
Did you?
I did, the one you sent me. It's awesome. People are always like, "Where'd you get that from?"
Oh, that's so fun.
Oh yeah, I sent some people. I sent to the link. Do you still have that link up to do those?
Probably not now, but we've just got some news about it, so hopefully we'll get something soon.
Great.
Are you guys seeing all these questions? I think we're remiss on connecting with the pubs here.
Yeah, there was one question about the deleted scenes in the Demon Knight. I mean, in the Crypt Keeper sequence.
Oh yeah, there was.
Steve, do you remember any of those? Steve Lovejoy?
You're on mute, buddy.
I guess
Steve's watching the game.
Cutting something.
Right. Gosh, I don't recall that specifically. No, I don't.
I remember. I don't either. I remember, there were just some angles that we didn't use, but that whole sequence was directed by Gil Adler.
Oh, you're talking. Oh, yeah. Okay.
So he did that opening sequence.
What are you talking about? I didn't direct that scene. What are you talking about? I didn't do that.
Yeah, I remember what you're talking about now. Yeah.
Gil actually makes a cameo at the end in the second part of the wraparound.
Yeah, Gil and Alan. Yeah.
And Alan, yeah, they're the people operating the guillotine.
That's right.
Yeah. So
I asked for final cut, and I got it.
So I guess if to answer the question, maybe there was some stuff that was maybe a little bit too explicit that we had to cut to get our rating. We had an R rating to get an R rating. So, but deleted scenes, not much, because it was supposed to be a short sequence to introduce the movie.
So we were worried about the rating.
Yeah.
We did an assembly on that scene that you're talking about in the hotel with the head punching out and a couple of other things that they, the censors wanted to see, and we did an original cut from that, and I sent that down because actually we'd done a recut on the movie and it wasn't as graphic. I sent down the original scenes, not in the movie, but just separate. And it worked because out of context, they're not nearly as powerful as in the movie. And I knew if they approved that, we didn't have any more censor problems, because what I had was a little bit less graphic than what we in our first cut that we had done. So
It's not easy remembering all these little pieces.
Yeah.
Okay, so
There's another question that was asked if any consideration of a sequel. I think the unofficial sequel was actually supposed to be what, Bordello of Blood?
well, I don't know about sequel.
Yeah.
I mean, like the next
It
episode.
didn't
kind of
start.
thing.
I understand it didn't start out that way, but
no, it started out as Fat Tuesday. It was a
Right.
project that Gil wanted to go, but what happened was Stallone and Joel Silver were doing a movie down in, we were in Canada, they were in New York or wherever it was. And Ernest, I believe, Robin Gibbons was who you had interviewed for the part.
I wasn't involved with Bordello.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But
Yeah.
but I remember hearing that Robin came in and really did a kick-ass.
Yeah,
version.
she absolutely nailed it. But Stallone wanted his girlfriend, Angie, whatever her name was, to be in the movie. And that's who
Everhart.
got cast. And she was a lovely, statuesque, lovely, beautiful woman. Had no idea what acting was, none whatsoever, really, just none. And that's what happened. And it was an odd situation because there was so much political stuff going on between the company and the studio, and these phone calls and threatening to pull the plug and nonsense. But yeah,
Those are pretty crazy days.
they really were going to do this Fat Tuesday that Gil had gotten, which was about a voodoo story in New Orleans, and it was really, really pretty good. But they threw that out in the script. That actually, Bordello of Blood was a script that Bob Gale and Zemeckis wrote coming out of USC. It's their first feature, and Universal had just put Zemeckis into a bungalow at the studio. So as kind of a kiss up to him, they said, "Well, let's get that script to Bob and let's do that movie." And in midstream, they screamed and said, "Yes, we're going to do it." Now, the thing that was so weird about it was that when we came back in to do the second movie, everybody, all the producers, everybody were screaming, "Oh, we have no money," and no, we have nothing. And in came the Bordello of Blood. In came Miller and the people, and suddenly there were floors of hotels that were given to actors, and where they didn't have any money, everybody had their own trailer and all that kind of stuff, which always happens. But once he got in and Angie got in, then she was trying to get preferential treatment, and it was a real interesting thing because Sly was down in shooting a Dick Donner movie with Antonio Banderas. I can't remember who it was. And we would get calls, and it was just said kind of quietly of, make sure that you put Angie's scenes at the end of the day so that she can make the plane Friday night out of Vancouver. And she'll have to come Saturday because Stallone had the woman he married stashed down there. That's what was going on. So many of the decisions that affected us and things we had to do with all this machinations behind the scene with and then Angie Dickinson, her name
Everhart.
She got really angry and called up Joel and said, "I don't like the way this is going," and I've been. And at that point, Stallone had the new lady thing happening, and Joel just ripped into her and said, "How dare you? And you're ungrateful, and you do this," and it just destroyed this woman.
Well, back to Demon Night, because that was
sorry.
It didn't work out. But
sorry.
it would have been great to have continued the adventures of Geraldine, because we established that she's being followed. So there could have been several sequels to this. It could have been a continuing thing, Demon Night.
Right.
Indeed.
What a unique character she was too. I mean, there was nobody like Geraldine, especially at that time. And
It
Yeah.
screams for a sequel.
Well, I had just seen. I was trying to figure out who to play Geraldine. I wanted somebody who was small in stature, and actually, I wanted an African American for that role. And I figured, hey, if I put a sister in this, people are going to think she's going to die. Nobody's going to expect her to live, because usually in horror films, it's the black folks that wind up getting killed first. And I had just seen her in Menace to Society, and loved her work in that. And I talked Joel into meeting her. Joel had somebody else in mind, but I got him to meet with her, and she met with him, and he loved her. So she was great. Now, I didn't find out until 2 nights before we started shooting that she dyed her hair. So she came to show me what it was, and first it was platinum. It was like platinum white, And I said, "Oh, and I'll put some color in it." And so she put some color in it, and that's how we came up with that look. But she was great.
Yeah, she was really fantastic.
She was terrific in that.
Am I remembering this correctly? Did Will Smith come and visit her on the set of Demon Knight?
I met Will, but not on the set, I don't believe.
Okay, because it was right around then when they met, as I recall.
Yeah, I went to a party that she gave with some friends. It was an after hours party, and Will was there. And that's when I first met him.
You were the Cupid of love.
No, but who came to the set, what was really cool, was Ringo Lam, the Hong Kong filmmaker.
That's true. There was actually a couple interesting visits. We were kind of this odd show. You remember when Joel showed up? I think he was only there that one day because he was doing Richie Rich in Chicago, which was all over the map. I mean, it was over budget, it was over schedule, it was just a mess, and had quite a lot more budget than we did, like 3 times the budget we had at least,
and gave him a lot of headaches. So he really kind of stayed out of our way.
It was perfect for us. But he showed up one day and he looks around and he's like, "I can't believe you guys, you've got exploding heads, you got demons, how are you doing all this?" And it was kind of fun because here we are, we were basically the television team. We were the team from the TV series that kind of got the keys to get a bigger frame, and now we were working with somebody as cool as you and showing off what we could really do. So it was kind of that interesting opportunity, whereas I think his other show didn't have all that stuff, but had all the behind the scenes headaches. So yeah, interesting. Should we go back to the movie? I've got.
It's part of the movie.
Yeah, true. I've got
the casting is amazing. I mean, the reason that this movie has such a great feel to it is because the casting is tremendous. I mean, the direction
every character
and this. I mean, every choices you guys made for it, it's classic because of it.
Right.
I've always been impressed with how it still holds up. I mean, none of the stuff. Correct. Please fill me in on how your effects were animation. Or what were the effects? They weren't CGI, right? Like the stars in the hand and the.
No, they weren't. John Van Fleet did those. They were computer generated. He did the work on it because he had a lot of experience with that. But it wasn't. It wasn't. And they designed the shots very carefully. Locked the hand off so that the stars could move, and
Right.
So he was really and there was a couple places where the person changed in one of the scenes. I can't remember which one it was, but he locked the camera down in 3 different ways and just did it the old-fashioned way.
Right. John was amazing like that.
Yeah.
He so this was right at the cusp where optical and digital were changing, so there was a lot of blurry area there. And since John was he came from traditional animation and opticals, his studio Available Light had a great combo of both. And then all of a sudden he starts buying these Macintosh machines, like prosumer things. And I think this was his first film to really start mixing things.
And it wasn't a lot of CG. There was, because it was very early. I think if anything, he used it for compositing.
Yeah, he was really smart about that, and we had a lot of fun kind of dipping our hands into this stuff together. And
I
As a
remember-
result, it all holds up. It's
Yeah,
all.
I remember when we shot,
know?
when we did that scene where we have Bill Sadler and Uncle Willie walking towards the church in the background, and you see the lightning flashes.
Right.
That was all composited. That was all filmed. You know, he might have used digital to help the composites, but I remember we had to cover the stage in black, and then we did a separate pass with that. Then we did a whole separate pass just of the church when it was lit, and everything else. And so it was kind of like a bit of mostly old school, but just starting to slide into the CGI world.
He had a really great optical department. I think of one person, and she was phenomenal. And I think it was only a single head Oxberry that they were running, and they stretched it to their abilities in great ways. So they were really smart about it. So there's quite a few of these shots that are finished optically. You know, as kind of the show progressed, we actually started mixing some digital stuff on the series, so it was a perfect time to bring in this feature. And as the show progressed, he started getting a little more action on his CG side, so he would do some CG comps. But there's no CG like character, for instance. He would, if they're like the flames at the end, he would actually traditionally animate that, scan it, and then Photoshop basically the flame feel and kind of finish it in CG that way. I think
which we wound up mostly getting rid of, because the final demon is really a rod puppet,
right,
in a model set. So, but someone was asking about how did I guide Billy into the character for the collector's personality. We were just kind of working it out, you know, because the thing about Tales from the Crypt is that it's horror, but it always has a kind of humorous bent to it. And so some of that was in the script, but some of it was, we were able to take the script just a little bit further. And some of it was totally improvised. To me, I always say, I say it over and over and over and over again, 90% of directing is casting. And you cast the right person to do the right thing, and all you got to do is sit back and just enjoy it and see what you got. But I think we were totally in sync on what the character should be, where he should go, when we should be serious, and when he should be more joking. And
that stuff works beautifully. That switch that you guys came up with is really creepy, because you kind of want to like this guy.
Yeah.
And it's just like all out of the blue, he's like that weird, narcissism person people probably know, where they're friends and all of a sudden they switch on you. And I thought that was so unique, because you don't really see that in a lot of horror film characters, having that kind of character personality.
Well, the devil has always been very seductive.
Yeah.
And always fools you, always makes you think that he's your best friend or the best thing that can happen to you. All the devils, natural and supernatural, throughout history have done that. So
yeah, totally.
He was able to play that.
You sound like you talk from personal experience, Ernest.
I watch the news.
He lives in the world.
The news.
He lives with the real monsters.
The real monsters you got to worry about.
Yeah, no shit, right? So on my screen, we just did the whole sequence with Cece and her arm and Cordelia. Am I in the right spot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, that was interesting.
That was a busy day.
Yeah, I have a great picture. I got to find it someplace. But my daughter, who I think was about 6 years old, was visiting me on set that day.
Oh, great.
And I have a shot of her sitting in a director's chair, watching Cece get her fake arm torn off. My daughter's blowing a bubble. Blowing a bubble.
Please send that to me. I want to see that.
I gotta
That's
find
great.
it. I gotta find it. But
That's really funny.
yeah, but from Warwick '02. Good to see you. Oh yeah, I got to go to Dark Delicacies again. I haven't been in a while.
Which is in Burbank, right?
Yeah, it's not that far from me. I definitely have to go. It's a great place.
That's a great spot.
Everybody should go to Dark Delicacies.
That's true. Did they recently move, or am I? No.
Yeah, they moved about a year ago.
Right. Okay. Right.
To a store that's
Kind of down the street.
well, kind of like around the corner and down the street from where they originally were.
Right. They're no longer in Magnolia.
Hey Todd.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course. Do you want just you and me?
What are you smoking?
It's a Canadian cigarette.
Okay.
Yeah. We've I think you know what I'm talking about. It's Thursday night in Canada, at least. I don't know where it is where you are, but it's kind of legally allowed.
Yeah, well, it's legal here too. So.
Right. And since we're cursing and looking at boobies, I figured we might as well, expand the dereliction, I guess. Anyway, what is everybody not smoking, and why not? I guess is the question.
Because I have edibles.
Spinach, by the way, was do you know that whole thing about Popeye? It is anyway. Another conversation for Reefer Madness TFC Day. THC TFC. That's
That was the show. That was the movie that I did. The play in the movie. I did the.
That's right. You did do Reefer
the
Madness.
musical of Reefer Madness. Faster, Sally, faster! I'm the guy that gets so high he eats everybody in the end from Munchies.
I've got a great screen. Is that supposed to be happening right now?
A green screen.
My screen on Zoom went away. And I don't think it's the weed. Anyway. See, I keep doing the So, Cody, are we still happening?
Yeah, we see you. I think everybody else sees you. You're
Okay,
all there, right,
I'll
Ernest?
put my clothes back on.
Let's do calling all troops. Let's sound off.
I used to have like anyway, blah blah blah. Okay, so this animation and then that warp that's just happening, the seal, that's actually the digital component that
that was digital. Yeah.
That was like an early Photoshop filter. And he had just done the Stargate movie where they also used that filter. So you'll recognize a similar force field in both movies.
Yeah, it's it was interesting coming up with the whole concept of the demons, shooting out the eyes, because I thought, if the soul is energy, if you shoot out the eyes, I thought it would be, kind of like Alien, if you chop into the alien, you gotta like duck. And I thought it'd be really cool if when you shot the demon eyes out, you had to duck, because you shot out the windows to the soul and the energy comes out and can blast you.
Right.
So that's where that idea came from. You shoot out the eyes, but then you better duck, because that ain't it.
Right. So that's kind of a great example of Van Vliet's traditional animation, which is the rays, that kind of rotoscoping animation. And then he would comp it digitally and add some of those warps that kind of are in there. It kind of gives it that very, very unique look, which I think, John, you mentioned earlier. It keeps it from being dated. It doesn't look like early CG.
Oh yeah, not at all. It's just it's a classic. That'll always feel current. It's such a great twisted tale, for any horror movie. Just the setup has got so much depth to it compared to your typical, movie of that genre. It's got so many horror movies are based on, fear or the devil or this or that or religion. This has like all those elements in there. It's just,
Yeah.
Well,
So-
it's that came from the writing. That was
Ethan and Cyrus.
Ethan and Cyrus. And and the basic idea was always there. It was originally, the original idea in the script was that the demons actually looked like the people that they used to be, only in a corrupted state. And we just figured that the audience would like to see monsters, and so that's when we started designing the demons in the film. And
Yeah.
These glowing eyes and mouths are actually mostly practical, and then subtly sweetened. The eyes were black light. I had little drops that I'd put into these actors' contact lenses that would give it a limited amount of ultravioletness, and we'd shoot it with this long throw black light, hoping to not fluoresce any other parts of the set. And then the mouths had little teeth plates with grain of wheat bulbs, little teeny wires going underneath their prosthetic to a battery pack at the back.
Yeah.
So they're a little crazy and a little ambitious for the day, but they work good.
Actually, an idea that I saw in a Japanese film where somebody was possessed by a demon, and the only way you could tell is when they opened up their mouth, you could see the glow in there.
Right. It's like the hell inside.
Yeah. And just trying to, find ways of doing it in a cool way without having to resort to too much visual effects,
Right.
I love doing practical. Practical is great if you can.
Well, you can
make
react to it.
Easy to support that.
Yeah, actors can see it and really respond to it rather than guessing what it's going to be, and you could direct it, you could block it.
Yeah.
All that.
And to me, the thing that always gives CG away, CG shots, when they defy the laws of physics.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you're going to do horror, you got to ground it in a reality.
Yeah. If it's magical, it's just, magic CG kind of works good for Harry Potter, sort of. But if you're going to feel real emotions, fright or humor, you kind of want to believe it. Right down to that really subtle belief, like, primal shit.
Yeah. But Todd.
Yes, sir.
I'm a big fan of Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
But don't you think orcs look a lot like our demons?
Yes.
Even to the piercings.
Well, those guys down, at Weta are real good friends of ours. So like I said before, we stole from them, like Dead Alive. We stole that whole head punch thing, not to mention a bunch of other stuff. But, my buddy Gino, who runs a lot of that prosthetic, he's right in the middle of digital and prosthetic. He's quite a genius. And Mr. Taylor and all sorts of other great artists down there. We kind of, read each other's mail, and also,
hey,
I think there's
if Weta and Peter Jackson bit off Demon Knight, I'm cool with it.
Hey, bless them, right? I appreciate. It's kind of there's this weird. I don't know if you do. Do you guys do this in your world? Because in effects world, we kind of like send little subtle winks to each other that only we would know, because of some weird detail of the craft or something. Does that happen in like directing or in cinematography? Do you guys ever like sneak little messages to like Spike or something like that?
Probably, little homages.
Yeah,
it's quite possible. That's something I'll bring it up. I'm going to meet with Spike
on Sunday, right?
On Sunday.
Yeah, is that a dial-in, or how do you get access to you guys?
It's on stage at the theater. Go to my Instagram. Check out my Instagram. The information is on there.
Sounds cool.
But
it sounds really exciting.
It's supposed to be the two of us sitting on stage and hopefully just chopping it up.
Shit, that's amazing.
Peter's been a fan of the show for a long time. He was Peter Jackson.
PJ.
He also had Victoria Burrows, our casting director, as his casting director for many years.
Right.
And so he had her bring me in for a lot of his projects. It got down to me and Jeffrey Combs for the Sinister. bad guy in the oh my gosh. I want to say Führers, but that's not the name of it. It's called my brain is fried. I also, read for
Edibles?
Wormtongue in Lord of the Rings, and I mean, he brought me in for a lot of different things, and it was all because of my work on Tales from the Crypt.
Sweet.
Are you talking about Frighteners? Is that what you were?
Frighteners, thank you. I don't know why my brain's not working, and I'm not even the one smoking. So,
Edibles, edibles. All right. Let's see.
Where are
Oh,
we
that's
next?
right. You worked with Sadler on Bulletproof. You mentioned that. I kind of missed that connection until it was brought up here on the thing.
Yeah.
And John, did you do the Beetlejuice laugh in the cartoons? Drop Dead Greg is asking.
no, I didn't. I didn't do that. No.
Okay, so that's a negative, Drop Dead Greg. Sorry. Okay, so we're kind of into the last chunk of this fine film of ours. By the way, that key prop was really cool.
Mm.
That
Oh.
thing it actually had a little vessel inside of it. I think it was plastic, not glass. The whole thing was made of plastic. It was beautifully made. I think we had like 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, had to note.
Yeah, our schedule was pretty tight on shooting this.
Yeah.
But my editor, Mr. Lovejoy, did some of the second unit work on it.
That's right. Steve,
He
you were
directed-
second unit
directed
director.
second unit. Yeah, for some of the shots. He actually captured my favorite shot.
Oh, really?
After little Danny blows up, I said, I gotta have his
The shoe.
I gotta have his speaker like
The shoe.
slow-mo. And Steve said, okay, I got it. And he
I
did
know
it.
what you're talking about. Yeah.
And I had to move on to something else, I had to move on to something else. But I said, please, we gotta have the sneaker just fall into frame.
Spoiler: Danny explodes. Oh boy. Let's see. Steve, you did some amazing work on this, Steve.
Well, it was my dream job. I didn't know Ernest before that movie happened, and Gil and those guys would, say, we want you to use these people, and I got looked at mostly because I was the only editor that won an Ace Editing Award for Tales from the Crypt. And that gave me some, cachet with them. And because it was my first feature, I would work for the ridiculous money that they were offering. I would have done it if it was less, and I'd be just happy to do it. So Ernest and I met on that film, and it was just a blast from the beginning right to the end. Just a blast.
Hey, Steve, you have a question here. With this film and the way it's shot, what's the biggest challenge when it comes to splicing it all together and getting it just right? That comes from Crypt.
Well, it's a trial and error. There's what you think, and then Ernest shoots, or director shoots the angles that they think will work, and they have what is. And Ernest's stuff was never hard to shoot because he really knows how to cover things and give you alternatives. And the scene we were talking, the arm being blown off and the cop comes up to meet her. There was a whole dialogue in that, and it never worked. And so Ernest and I didn't know each other at all. And Ernest was, when you're meeting, he's kind of quiet. There wasn't a lot of feedback. He'd just kind of say yes. And so when that came in and we ran it the first time, he said, I want to cut this scene without any dialogue at all. And I just thought, oh man, here we go. This is great. And that's how it ended up in the final film. So it's trial and error. I mean, it's a collaboration with the director. The editor's job is to try to make the movie into the vision that the director has for it. And
how many movies did we work on together after that, Steve?
Well, I think we've worked on 17 movies together.
Wow.
Yep.
Love it.
Yeah. We hit it off.
Cool.
It's wonderful working with Steve because it's a nice Zen fountain right there in the editing room.
Yeah.
Because most of the time in the editing room, you got no light coming in, you know, or the shades are drawn, so you never see the light. But just having the water of the Zen fountain just really.
Yeah, that's really funny because yeah, that's really true. When we hadn't worked together for a while, and when we got ready to go to work, I'd lent it to my sister, and I said I got to have that back because Ernest wants the little fountain in the room. So yeah, it was a blast.
There was
Really
there was a question. I want to change the subject a little bit. There was a question that came through about why horror is not considered seriously by members of the Academy. And you know, horror in cinema has always been kind of like a bastardized genre. You know, I think that coming mainly from the critics. But some of the greatest works of literature have been works of horror. The works of Edgar Allan Poe,
Macbeth,
Sheridan Le Fanu, you know,
yeah, no, exactly.
Daniel Hawthorne, you know, all those interesting people that did such amazing work in the past. And you know, I just think that, you know, a lot of people tried to jump on the bandwagon on horror and produce some really bad stuff, but there's a lot of great stuff that's out there that has never gotten you know, the analysis and the looks that it should have gotten. So but I think, you know, it's turning around a little bit. I mean, Silence of the Lambs.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
They didn't want to call it a horror film, but Silence of the Lambs was a horror film. That won Best Picture.
Well, The Exorcist. The Exorcist was considered, you know, as a real A-list kind of show. I mean, there's been a number of these that have kind of been outliers to that comment. I mean, I agree. The genre usually is kind of browbeaten, but there are occasional ones that kind of clear. But great question.
And finally, even fantasy, the fact that Lord of the Rings, you know, they waited. I think what was it? Return of the King won Best Picture.
Yeah, but that was breakout. I mean, the fantasy hadn't been considered for what, decades before then?
I think that was for the whole series. You know, I think I think that was for all three films.
Right. I mean, you know, Cleopatra was the last one. I mean, what was the last fantasy that was considered like that? I don't know. All that kind of Academy stuff. I mean, it always gets so much conversation, especially this time of year. But it's really, you know, we're talking about this movie 27 years ago. You know, we released it, so I think that kind of shows the real testament to the film.
Warwick asks, which would I prefer, cinematography or directing?
Puppetry.
Well, I've been directing for 30 years. I was a cinematographer from 1984 to 92, so I've been directing much longer. I mean, honestly, I still get involved in the cinematography on shows and on films that I do. Doing television, I have to fit into, you know, what's already been set up. But if I'm able to set it up, I get heavily involved in the look of the shows.
Well, and you can tell. I mean, your movies have a signature.
Well, I just got through doing the first 2 episodes of Raised by Wolves of the 2nd season. And when it was offered to me as Ridley set the look for the 1st season because it's set on a different part of the planet. The 2nd season is going to be set on a part of the planet we have not seen before, the tropical zone. So he said, you have the chance to redesign the look of the show. And it's like, how could I say no to something like that? You know?
Right.
That's
so
cool.
awesome.
So it was going to Cape Town, South Africa for 3 months on a fantastic landscape where we were able to really give it more variety than the 1st season had and take the story to a whole nother level. So you know,
cool.
creating worlds is something that is a lot of fun and I love doing it. And then after that, another show that I did, DMZ, that I did with David Duvernay, same thing. So creating worlds is a lot of fun. That's one of the things that a lot of us, you know, want to do.
If a crossover was possible with Demon Knight universe, which movie, show, book would you choose? Is a question from Corey Doyle. Anybody want to chew on that?
Which movie? But
Well,
I mean, if there was a crossover, it should be
should be a movie.
Geraldine. It should be the continuation of Geraldine, because she's now the Demon Knight.
That'd be could get Jada to do kind of a wraparound for each one of them, almost like the Linda Hamilton character flashing back.
Could be.
That'd be sweet.
Now we did establish that Geraldine always wanted to go to Paris.
Yeah.
And at the end of the movie, we didn't see where she went, but Paris has those wonderful underground catacombs.
I was just gonna say the catacombs would be
those
amazing.
Catacombs under there, and who knows how far and how deep they go and where they go. So
that could be the center of the demon world.
It could be, or leading to it.
John, start writing this down, will you?
Well, it starts out with, I went to Paris on a bus.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if we can use that character, so we'll have to come up with a new character. Someone, I think, asked about that also in the questions, if there's going to be any more Tales stuff. We've answered this a million times. Anybody want to do it again?
Je suis un artiste, vous êtes fou.
John, outside of the Crypt show and the main Tales from the Crypt show and the movies, what's your other favorite medium that you've done the Crypt Keeper on, like TV specials, Knott's Berry Farm?
Oh, well, a lot of people ask me that around this time of year. I mean, we had a blast, and Jack Wall's no longer with us, but Jack was the guy who was. I used to call him the Crypt Keeper's pimp. He wasn't really happy. He wasn't happy about that, but he was great. But he used to find all kinds of fun stuff for the Crypt Keeper to do, everything from Bud Light commercials to Not Scary Farms and stuff like that. But we did the I'll Be Home for Christmas album. Have yourself a scary little Christmas. And it was just incredible. It's every song on it is incredible. I showed up expecting to have some canned music that I was going to be, recording to. They had gotten an orchestra and did really, really beautiful orchestrations of all the music. And then they just cut me loose. And I just spent a week, recording the songs, the way they wanted them. And then I would add all my improvisation, stuff like that. And it was just one of the best. And the sad thing is that they Polygore Records, which was the company that produced it, put out one pressing of it. They sold every single one of them and never put it out again. And I was
those are classics then.
I was like, oh my God, you could put it out every year as stocking stuffers. It's such a great.
Totally.
But
nobody was really thinking like Jack. It's really great to hear you bring his name up.
I loved Jack. I loved him.
Beautiful. He was really.
We had a lot of fun together over the years. He wrote some great fun stuff, and he was a creative guy. He was one of the giants in this business.
All right, so we're just about to see Thomas Hayden Church's demise, I believe. Am I right, Cody?
Yeah, that's right.
I keep
the Sandman.
I gotta go to. You should do like a Crypt Keeper voice class so we could all learn. I think that'd be great.
Hey, even Walking Dead had demons at a zombie school.
That's right.
That's right. That's right.
I did it. You had to, if you wanted to be a zombie in the show, you had to go and pass zombie school.
It's really funny.
Greg Nicotero maintained control over that whole thing. So
I've had to do a lot of monster voices for a lot of other films and stuff, and a lot of times there'll be a lot of the other ADR people or a lot of the people that worked on The Walking Dead, and they're like, no, it's like this. And you're just going, you're like, get a fucking life, man. Get a fucking life. Can you do anything besides? No, but I do it better than everybody else. And you're just like, oh my God, that's so funny.
Well, John, what's funny is that since in the show the zombies couldn't talk, each young actor who came in and wanted to do it and play the zombie, they all try to put different personality traits in there. So just imagine all the different voices you could create, man.
Yeah, that would be really cool. We should do voices for the demons that live under Paris.
I love that. I love that. That's great.
Okay, so we've killed off Roach. We've shot Billy through the eyeball. That's where
Okay.
we're at, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we got blood-coated demons now. We've sprayed all the demons with Caro syrup, by the way. Oh, there's this is a great moment. And I love the way that you didn't overshoot that, Ernest. I mean, obviously we were tight on schedule and budget, but it really works. This is great here. Another great little John Van Vliet animation.
Yeah.
Probably
I mean,
all
I think, there's certain shots that tell the story, and it should just be those and nothing else. So
yeah. I mean, we didn't need to over sweeten it at that point, which is great. I mean, some people would have required huge pyro there.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, Todd, I'm going to share on the screen some cool pictures you had sent of Demon Jada.
Okay.
Thought
There's
those were
Demon
pretty cool.
Jada.
Folks at home might like to see.
I think that's like her at the craft service table. We're having some beef jerky that day, obviously.
She looks like The Weeknd.
Before or after? She was great. We barely. I don't think we actually see that makeup in the movie. We see the back of her head looking at Bill, which is her laying on a plank a few minutes ago. Bill being eaten by all those demons. It's supposed to look like they're all on the wall and she's just standing there, but in the real shot, she's on a plank and he's on the ground. Okay,
Yeah,
so
the idea was originally to show that maybe she is becoming possessed.
right.
But I think in the editing room, we decided, what if we don't see it and we just don't know?
Yeah.
And
Let's
then
save it for
why the
Paris.
next shot after she sees that is that high angle when she comes out, is looking down, into the first floor, and she comes out and she walks around and everybody goes off and we just kind of move into a tight close-up where we put a big question mark in the audience's head. Was she?
There's the sneaker shot.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve. Bravo. All right, bye-bye, Danny. I thought I was going to get fired for that character, by the way, Ernest. I went a little crazy on Demon Danny.
Yes, it was.
It was very Big Daddy Roth inspired.
I love Big Daddy Roth. Was one of my favorites.
I did too, and Ernest, I can't remember if we talked about this or not. I know I did some art for Danny, and I think we even did a maquette, but it was kind of one of those things that was crammed at the end of the schedule. We just really kind of made it really fast, and I showed up with it on set, not really showing everybody how crazy it was going to be with the big tongue, all that.
Yeah.
And Gil came up to me like sternly, like as he always looks, like he's ready for business. And I thought he was going to fire me right on the spot.
That's a good way of putting it. That's Gil. That's
Gil. He's ready for action at every moment, And I think he said he liked it. I can't remember. Anyway, Danny was just kind of slightly out of the design envelope because I kind of felt at that point of the movie we were kind of laying all the cards down, and let's just get a little crazy. So we got a little crazy.
Yeah, I mean there were a couple of ones like that when
the whole movie's like that, I guess.
When Thomas Hayden Church's girlfriend kills,
Cordelia.
Yeah, when Cordelia kills
Wally,
the mailman, the postal guy, Charles Flesher. I remember we kind of like made that up pretty quickly.
We really did, and it's got a transforming head, and we wanted it to get kind of weird between where she realizes she's in trouble to the point where she's trying to escape, which is the window. So we had that whole transformation happen right in that period.
Yeah.
And it's kind of throwaway, but it's all there. It's really weird.
But do you remember the original? Because you drew the original concept art for what it was.
Right.
And my idea was that since she's a prostitute, and you drew it, that her stomach should open up like a vagina dentalis,
which was
and whip
that was
around whip around his neck and pull him in.
Right, which was based on some of the Japanese comics that you and I were just dripping over at the time. There was a couple in there. Trying to remember which ones, but there was a couple in there. We're like, yeah, we got to do that.
And the wife, and we were moving ahead on that till the wife of one of the producers saw it and said, "There is no way you're putting that in this movie."
So that's in the sequel. That's got to be in the Paris show.
It is the sequel.
If it's in Paris, it works.
Hey,
Yeah.
you know, Vegas, Paris, whatever. That's hilarious. I did remember some of that, but I forgot all how fun that was. There's many times in the show I thought I was going to get fired. That was another one of them.
Sorry to say.
All right, now we get these badass glasses that Billy found to cover up his eyeball prosthetic because he just got shot through the eye, of course.
Yeah, he liked those too.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah,
they'll let us shoot in Notre Dame since it's in the middle of being rebuilt.
yeah, I hear it's going to be Disneyfied.
Yeah.
It should be cryptified.
Cryptified. It already is cryptified.
Yeah, they should push the Gothic until like, way past Hammer.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
just really go gnarly with it. Let me design it.
I was there just a year before the fire. It's just one of the most
Beautiful.
amazing, one of the most amazing things man has ever made. It's just amazing.
I think.
And to think that they had like early software to build that with, like pre-Windows. It's just amazing. Anyway. Okay, so now we have
People are like,
Geraldine.
oh yeah, right. What what are you talking
What?
about?
Those guys with their early iPads
Yeah.
made it. They were
Gives a
like
new meaning
charcoal sketching.
Yes,
their
gives a new
iPads.
meaning to flying buttress.
Exactly. So this is a great look for her. The blood coating, which
Yeah.
fortunately we only had to do a couple days. I remember.
Yeah, that was actually kind of. Yeah, I'm glad we did that because it was actually kind of sensuous. She looked good covered in blood, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and it also advanced her character dramatically. I mean, if you think about coating yourself with blood, it's disgusting, and for her to do that is really kind of a cool detail of where she's at as a character. And she looks fantastic.
I didn't know anything
That's a
about
great
that.
reveal.
I didn't know anything about that. Yeah.
Pieces of John Shuck in the tub. So we made three
Yeah,
heads.
that was
for
the
John
head.
Shuck.
That was the head you created.
Yeah, we actually had 3 John Shuck heads. One that we could punch through, one that we could throw at somebody in the tummy. Yeah, there we go. That's the one we just saw in the tub. That's the hero one. Dave Matherly made that out of our studio. Really great. We love John Shuck from like MASH. Suicide is Painless.
Yeah, suicide. Yeah, suicide is painless. Yeah.
I love him in that part, and then he shows up at our studio and we're ripping his head off. How cool!
Yeah. And Gary Farmer was great.
He really is great. He's in a lot of stuff too.
Yeah. I loved seeing him in Ghost Dog.
Yeah, he's in so many movies. He shows up in these movies. I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
I think I
There's the
killed that
head.
guy.
Okay, there's a shot of the head.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a stunt actress taking this abuse down the stairs, I believe. Hopefully it's not Jada.
No, that was Jay the stunt double for sure.
Good. It's such a great piece, that he's just so like, fuck it, I'm just gonna drag it down. And those were not soft stairs. Those were real, like they were wooden and foam, but still they weren't like soft foam.
Write a movie that you can make digitally, make it, and look at low budget independent filmmakers.
And Stephen, we had a question earlier for you, Stephen, about how you came into editing, how you got your start.
I got my start back in the days when there was you came as an apprentice, and 4 years later you were an assistant, and 4 years after that you were an editor. I got my start at Universal, and I worked in television. Universal had 16 hours of television, and there were 30 editors that worked there. Name of the Game and Marcus Welby, MD, and
Oh,
bunch of
cool.
those kind of things. And that's where I learned the craft initially from other editors. That's who taught. There were no schools, and they'd give you film and you'd cut it, and then they'd teach you how to tell stories because it wasn't a technical thing. It isn't a technical thing.
Hot splicing.
You know, I just loved it. My family has been in show business. My daughter was a screenwriter, it's the fourth generation film, and I just loved it because the editing thing just, when I started to do it, it just set me on fire. I mean, it was like just the energy, the feeling.
Kind of like Billy Zane right now. Set you on
Yeah.
fire.
Yeah, you know, there's just a high to when you get in the groove.
True enough. Yeah, it's true. That's when it becomes art. So we should probably talk about what happened here at the ending because it was a little tragic. First, we've got her spitting the blood on Billy, which is coming up in a moment. That was actually a head of a dummy of Billy that we made to set on fire and also to spray acid all over it. So this is actually acid burning. Not there. That's Billy with a prosthetic that's leaking fluids, which made the prosthetics kind of self-destruct. And then we started using this acid, which is that yellow smoke. And it was kind of a...
Was that acid? I forgot. Was that acid? Wow.
Yeah, it was actually acid. We had to shoot it in a specially funneled chamber to kind of get all that smoke exhausted out of there really quickly. And then this is a miniature puppet we made that...
And somebody who was there was the great Jim Danforth.
No, Joe Viscoso.
Well, Joe Viscoso did the effect, did the explosive.
Right.
So I remember he accidentally set himself on fire.
He exploded himself, actually. Yes.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
But Jim Danforth was there also.
Was Jim there that night? Holy moly.
Yeah, I think he was partially responsible for the rod puppet of the demon.
Yeah, that came out of our studio. We might have brought Jim on. He's an old buddy of ours, but yeah, we had quick little rod movement before we blew it up.
Yeah, I've been a fan of Jim since you know, some of the early stuff that he did, like when dinosaurs ruled the earth. Yeah.
And, one of his Oscar
nominations. So there he was, you know, and you know, one of the animation masters.
Yeah, no, he was actually one of my early teachers when I was like 12 or 13. I used to call him and bug him, and he gave me a lot of tips from the early days on how to, you know, deal with this crazy business.
And there was the original. There were really two projected endings for Demon Knight, because the original one we tried to do, which was working out as a temp effect in the first screenings, the idea of, I was really trying to stay away from an anthropomorphic image of the demon. And we were trying to come up with an idea of a creature made purely of fire, living flames, and that Jada was being pulled into it. But it was really before CGI had advanced to that point.
Right.
And we had to come up with something that was more recognizable, something that was more generic. So that's what we got, the final demon, you know, the winged demon, which was actually somewhat inspired by the demon in Fantasia, in The Night on Bald Mountain in Fantasia.
Best sequence in the movie.
Yeah.
So this is like one of the first things you shot, was this ending.
Oh, at the very end.
Yeah.
Yeah, when Jada gets on the bus. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like day one.
Yeah. And the guy who plays the new collector, he was my next door neighbor in Brooklyn.
Seriously, that's awesome.
Mark Kennelly. Yeah, Mark Kennelly. He was my next door neighbor in Brooklyn, and he was out in LA because he had been doing some acting work and everything. And he was out there. And I just met his daughter this past summer. She was working on a show that I was doing called DMZ, and she was one of the PAs on it. And
that's awesome.
And it was so funny.
Small world. Okay.
And Billy Zane, question came up from Drop Dead Greg. Yeah, Billy Zane was a dream to work with. He's
Yeah.
a
He bought the whole
very
crew food the last night. You remember that?
Hmm?
He bought a Greek dinner for the entire team, everybody, the entire crew.
Okay.
You remember
I
that?
don't remember that, but
Yeah.
probably, but no, but he was such a great guy to work with. He's such a cool gentleman,
Yeah.
and we don't see enough of him.
Yeah. He's very generous, dude.
Yeah.
And of course, we have more Crypt Keeper puppet from Kevin Yeager's team. And there's Gil and Alan. Gil Adler and Alan Katz, A.L. Katz, producers on the series for several of the last seasons. And they had to be the one chopping off the Crypt Keeper's head.
Yeah. They pretty much wrote all the Crypt Keeper sequences.
Yeah, yeah. All the puns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we're
Would you like to try my lady fingers? They're delicious, although my lady was not so quick to part with them.
what a cast,
Oh, they're
man.
amazing.
Look at that freaking cast. Yeah, really good job, everybody. That was fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this was great.
I'm very proud of this movie, and
Should be. It's a really good
proud of
movie.
the work that we all did together.
I mean,
It's
even
amazing how.
go ahead.
I was just going to say it's amazing how much has become part of Ernest's, legacy. If there was something that you wanted to be remembered for, Ernest, above and beyond this, what would it be? I mean, obviously a body of work that's incredible, and it just doesn't end. You just continue to make fantastic movies and television and everything else that you do. But is there something that you would, if you had your rathers,
Well, I want to continue to make good, fantastic films.
Yeah.
Cinefantastique is a genre that I grew up with and love and write. What I'm writing is all cinefantastique. So I just want to continue doing it.
Hey, there's a quick question, Steve, if you don't mind. Can you guys say a quick something about the post voiceover gang recording John Kassir, the Demons, etc.? I know it's a little outside your exact hands, but do you remember how that all went?
Well, I had mentioned earlier that Mary Kay Bergman had gotten contacted from, and I had mentioned this earlier, Dino. You may not have been on when I mentioned it, but I did mention it for you and your son Connor. Dino and I had done some Looney Tunes together. I was playing Pete Puma, and he was playing Speedy Gonzales. But his wife, who's no longer with us, was so beloved, and she did some of the looping, including the actress who kills John Larroquette in the beginning of the movie. She did voice acting for that character, which was kind of fun. But yeah, I did mention that earlier, and it's thank you for bringing it up again, Dino. I wasn't privy myself, maybe Stephen was, but I wasn't privy myself to the other ADR work on the movie, only my own work, which was extensive on this particular movie. It was the first time that they did that, walking, talking Crypt Keeper, which was a whole nother thing. And then, of course, the actor who did the physicality wore a blue hood, and then they superimposed, the Crypt Keeper's head onto that later, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, that was a digital composite, I believe.
It was, yeah.
Early digital compositing.
It took a long time to get that right.
Yeah. It was a tricky match move, especially him coming close. That was a really tricky shot.
Yeah.
And his movements aren't smooth. They're kind of.
It's a little Ray Harryhausen, actually. It's a little, because that's the single frame. He's literally taking frame by frame. I think it's an old After Effects, early After Effects comp.
It was, exactly.
They were asking about the where they about the Demons, how they were recorded. I do know that when I was down on the set, they had all these servos in the heads that were worked remote control, unlike the Crypt Keeper, which was worked by wires and controls. They were worked by remote control, and they were quite noisy too, as I remember, Ernest, and making that kind of noise, which was kind of creepy. When I came down to the set, I was like, "Oh my God, those things are creepy!" And that noise, and they're like, "Oh, those are the servos. That'll go away." But I think they wanted to know, how they came up with that kind of thing. But I couldn't tell you where they did that post. We worked in so many different studios over the years.
Yeah,
To
I forget where we did that because I was there for the ADR for the demons, and the supernatural stuff. Yeah, we just found some good character voice actors and just had them play to it, and I remember Steve being
Those dancers were amazing as well with their movements.
Oh my gosh, they were balanced on extended cloven feet, so they were
those leg
actually on.
extensions were the toughest things in the world. There's a scene where we see the demons walking up the stairs. That was so hard for the performers.
Yeah, those guys were all well, the heroes demons were from our studio. They're actually
Yeah.
like people that worked for us. They, we didn't eat much back then, and so everybody was like super thin. And it's true.
They practice every day.
We learned from another show that we had done similar hooves, where there's particular leg muscles that you kind of have to develop to walk around on your tiptoes for a while, especially the redesign that we did, because we originally the leg extensions went all the way up the leg. These were limited to really just kind of like high tops and then extended off the feet. That's where Tony Hooper came involved. He made a bunch of those. And we had to have our team, like you're saying, Ernest, walk around on this shit every single day so they could like run on them. We could have confidence that they wouldn't twist their ankles and hurt themselves, because that could easily have happened. We had them walk backwards. We did a couple of those shots where we had them perform backwards and played the film, in reverse. So they had this weird forward movement, a couple things like that.
Very cool. They were very, very cool. Some of the coolest. I mean, I every time I picture them, I just,
Well, I think the story. I guess the movie's over. Are we supposed to be done now?
Yeah, we're just about done.
All right. Well, real fast. I mean, the original demons were going to be like full-on monster suits. The original script that Siren and Ethan came up with were like just wall-to-wall demons, and I turned in my budget, and Gil got really silent for me. That was the second stage, actually. So Gil kind of ghosted me for like weeks. Like I did something wrong. I guess my budget wasn't approved. And then I got a new script, and the new script is the one you mentioned earlier, Ernest, which is the Blues Brothers look, where all the demons were just humans with these dark glasses, and then they take their glasses down, and you'd see hell in there, and you'd see hell in their mouth, and that was kind of everything. And I went into Gil's office at one point, and I said, we can't be Tales from the Crypt doing a movie called Demon Night and not have any demons in it. And he like, well, budget, etc. So we went back and we figured out a way to just use really ugly bodies. I mean, really, it's really thin bodies. I'm sorry, not ugly, but you know what I mean? Kind of stringy, wiry. And then we enhanced them with our ugliness, our prosthetic ugliness, with like exposed ribs. And we made the hands really creepy. And they had these tails that had Makita batteries crammed up their butts, in fact. And of course the hooves and the heads were big masks. If you look carefully, you could see where the actors actually seen through their forehead cracks and the cracks up here. And
I gotta say, Gil was a great producer.
Amazing producer.
I mean, the thing is, even when you go to him and you gave him an idea, he'd give you this stern look, like, and you're like,
well, what do you mean? What do you mean? What am I supposed to do with that?
But
I don't know about your Gil impersonation.
He'd find ways of making it happen. He was. I really enjoyed working with Gil,
Isn't Gil more down in like this area? I mean, he's kind of like
He's in Vancouver now.
Oh, he gets up here. He talks like this. I Zoom with him like every like at least once a month. He and his
I
wife.
gotta join you guys. That would be hilarious because he's all mad at me for doing
They
impersonation.
would love to have you guys on.
Let's do it, gang.
He and his wife are just the
Oh,
loveliest
Jeannie, she's
people.
fantastic. Yeah.
My wife
They live
and I-
not too far away from here.
Yeah,
Please tell Gil, Ernest, and Rose we send our love.
I certainly will. I will.
And to give us a call.
Me too.
I will. I will make sure that I will pass that on, and I know he will love to do that.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, we do have holidays coming up. But speaking of which, happy holidays, everybody.
It's a
Yeah.
Cryptmas
everyone.
miracle. You guys got to do it.
Let's get underneath.
Have yourself a scary little Christmas.
Have our tree in the back.
Well, guys, it's been a
Nice
lot
little
of fun. I want to thank you all for coming on. Just before we get going, I'll get, if any of you want to let people know where to find you or know about any projects coming out, maybe we'll start with you, John. Where would you like to direct folks to find you on the social media and such?
Well, obviously on under my name on it, all of them.
Links down below in the
Instagram.
info section, folks.
I don't
Links.
spend a lot of time on Instagram, but my Facebook page because I can actually get back to people. Twitter, obviously, cameos have become very big for the Crypt Keeper, especially around the holidays and that's a lot of fun for me to do. And I don't make it too expensive. I try to make it so that the fans can afford it, and it's something I love doing for everybody, and that's where you can find me.
Great. How about you, Todd?
I will be doing my Gil Adler impersonation for the holiday. It'll be extremely cheap and quick, and under budget and under schedule generally.
And high, evidently.
Anyway, I'm Instagramming at masters.pod. There we go. Is that Gil? Is that Gil on the phone?
It's become the Howard Stern show. It's
Anyway, Instagram masters.todd, Twitter Todd Masters. Is that all I am? Maybe, I don't know. I'm sure you could find me. It's a real name, believe it or not. And really nice seeing y'all, Mary and Holly, and Happy, and whatever we do.
Absolutely.
How about you, Ernest? Want to let the folks at home know about anything they should keep an eye out for you coming up?
In February, I directed the first 2 episodes of the series Raised by Wolves, the 2nd season. So that's coming up. And then maybe after that, March, April, who knows? We don't know yet. We'll be on the lookout for another show called DMZ that I was a producer, executive producer, director on. And
That looks really cool, by the way.
and a movie that I shot on the island of Curacao is going to start streaming in February. In February, so DMZ and Raised by Wolves are both going to be on HBO Max, and so be on the lookout for those. And
You're slowing down, is what you're saying.
Double play. Got to tell them the name of the movie.
Double play. Lovejoy edited it. So
Love it.
So yeah, be on the lookout if you want to take a nice trip to the Caribbean island of Curacao for a little while.
Great. And how about you, Stephen? Do you have any social media for anybody to
No,
look for?
I don't. I absolutely don't.
That's
Good
all
for
right.
you.
That's all right. That makes this an extra special treat. So thank you
Yeah,
for
I'm,
joining along.
No, my daughter, when she went to college and Facebook came out, she said, "Dad, you can't have a Facebook page." And I just said, "Well, you just haven't paid attention, because if you did, the last thing that I, Steve Lovejoy, editor, would ever do is have a site somewhere with a bunch of pictures and information about me. Would never happen in this life."
How about just a phone number then? No, I'm kidding.
Well, thank you, everybody, once again. You two at home, thank you for tuning in. This is Cody with Nostalgic Nebula. We had Ernest Dickerson, we hear John Kassir, Stephen Lovejoy, and, of course, the wonderful effects brought to you by Todd Masters. Check them all out on the social media. And have yourself a Merry Cryptmas, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you. Same to
Merry
you.
Christmas, everybody. Happy New
Yes.
Year. Happy Kwanzaa.
Safe and healthy.
Good seeing you, gang.
Stay safe and healthy, everybody.
Cheers.
You bet.
And